Okay, this is test number 3, spring test number 3 from sections 1-1 to 6-3. Compound inequalities is part 3, picking up at number 22. You have an OR inequality here, so what you want to do is you want to work them as two separate simple inequalities. Get rid of minus 2 by adding 2. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. You're left with 2x. Negative 2 plus 2 will cancel out. Negative 12 plus 2 will give you a negative 10. And all you did was add 2, so it'll stay as less than. Get rid of 2 times x by dividing by 2. If you do it on the left, divide by 2 on the right. This will cancel and leave you with just x. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. You only divide it by a positive number, so less than will stay as less than. Your other inequality you're going to do, get rid of plus 3 by subtracting 3. If you subtract the left, subtract the right by 3. Leaves you with 2x. This will cancel out. 7 minus 3 is 4. And all you did was subtract, so greater than will stay the same. Get rid of 2 times something by dividing. If you do it to the left, do it to the right. This will cancel and leave you with just x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And since we divided by a positive number, greater than is going to stay the same just like it is. So x is less than negative 5 or x is greater than 2. Then it says graph your solution. You're going to graph both of them on the same number line, negative 5 and positive 2. X is less than negative 5, so it's an open bubble. You don't color it in. Less than means all of the numbers that are smaller this way. And x is greater than 2. Again, an open bubble. Don't color it in. Greater than means all the numbers that are larger, or everything this way. Number 23 says evaluate u plus xy. When u is 18, x is 10, and y is 8. In place of u, you just plug it in 18. Plus, in place of x, you plug it in 10. In place of y, you plug it in 8. That's all we did was plug those values in. Remember, for your order of operations, you got to do multiplication first. 10 times 8 is 80. And bring down your plus 18. 80 plus 18 is 98. 24 says evaluate negative x minus 2y. The absolute value of all of that when x is negative 2 and y is 3. So you have the absolute value of negative, then we're going to plug in x. Remember, you have a negative first, and then you're plugging in a negative 2. Don't forget that. Minus 2 times y, its value is 3 in this case. Still all an absolute value. You have a negative negative first. That's like negative 1 times negative 2. That creates a positive 2. All we did was put those two together and get positive 2. Negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6 or minus 6. We didn't do anything to get rid of the absolute value symbol, so they'll stay there. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Again, we still have the absolute value symbols. All the absolute value means is how far away from 0 is negative 4. And remember, distance can never be a negative number, so 4 is your simplified answer for number 24. 25 says solve the equation. 5x minus 3 equals 3x minus 9. Put your x's all on the same side. Move 3x over to that side because it's smaller. Positive 3x, you undo that by subtracting 3x. If you subtract it on the right, subtract 3x on the left. 5x minus 3x is 2x. Bring down your minus 5 equals 3x minus 3x will cancel. You're left over with equals negative 9. Get rid of your minus 5 or move it over to the other side by adding 5. You add it to the left, add it to the right. You have 2x on the left. Minus 5 plus 5 will cancel. Equals negative 9 plus 5 is going to give you a negative 4. You have one more step. 2 times x. Get rid of that by dividing by 2. If you divide the left by 2, do the same thing to the right. This will cancel and give you just x. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So x's value equals negative 2. For 26, you have to do some combining of like terms before you try to do anything else. That means combine 8d, negative 4d, and negative 6d. 8d minus 4d is 4d, and 4d minus 6d is negative 2d. All we did was combine those just like they are. We didn't do inverse operations because we didn't go across the equal sign. Bring down your minus 8 equals 2d. Now we have -8 or -8 on the left, and we have -2d on the left and +2d on the right. So let's move our d's over to the right side where we don't have to move the -8. -2d is the same thing as -2d. Undo it by adding 2d. If you do that to the left, do that to the right. Same exact thing. You don't have to think about that. This will cancel. Don't forget the negative that goes with the 8. Equals 2d plus 2d is 4d. Get rid of 4 times something by dividing by 4. And if you do that on the right, do the same thing on the left. -8 divided by 4 is -2. Equals, these will cancel and just leave you with d. So d's value equals 2. If you want to rewrite that, you can. D equals -2. I meant to say d was -2. Both of those two things mean the same thing. 27 says the perimeter is 24 centimeters. Find the value of x. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Remember, if you can't remember that, it's just the distance around it. And since it's a rectangle, that means you have 2 sides that are the same and another 2 sides that are the same. So it doesn't matter which one you call length and width. I always put the length as the longer of the two. Just keeps me straight. In place of 24, it tells us our perimeter is 24 centimeters. So in place of P, we're going to put in 24 centimeters. Equals 2 times the length. Now, we don't have a length measurement, but we have a value they gave us, 3x centimeters. Plus 2 times the width. The width will be the other one, and we have the value 3 centimeters. All we need to do is simplify this now. Can't do nothing with this just yet. 24 centimeters equals 2 times 3x will be 6x centimeters. Plus 2 times 3 centimeters is 6 centimeters. So we have 24 centimeters. We can get rid of plus 6 centimeters by subtracting it. If you subtract it on the right, subtract 6 centimeters on the left. 24 minus 6 is going to give us 18 centimeters. Equals 6 times x centimeters, and these will cancel out. 6 times something, just like anything else we do, you can ignore the fact that it says centimeters, get rid of that by dividing by 6. This will cancel out. Divide the right by 6, divide the left by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3 centimeters. Equals, all we have is x on this side. It's actually nothing changed other than you don't need to include the unit right here. X's value is not 3 centimeters. It's just 3, everybody. X is 3. A car is driving at a speed of 60 miles per hour. What's the speed of the car in feet per minute? We have to do a conversion here. 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. Remember, I'll give you that number. But that's a number that it'll do you some good to learn that number, because it'll come up a lot in school and it'll come up a lot when you're actually grown up. We want to convert miles per hour into feet per minute. So we got to do one at a time. First thing we got is 60 miles per 1 hour. That's how you'd write that. 60 miles per 1 hour. In order to convert it, the first one we want to do is we want to convert miles into feet. So in order to do that, we need to multiply by a fraction. The fraction we need is we want how many feet go in 1 mile. Since miles, if you look at it, since miles are at the top of the first fraction, make sure miles are at the bottom of the second one. 5,280 feet are equivalent or in 1 mile. So that's what you want at the top of the fraction. So that'll get us from miles to feet. The other one we want to do is we want to get from hours to minutes. From hours to minutes. Okay? If you look at your first fraction, hours is on the bottom. So you want your next fraction to put 1 hour on the top. And then we all know that 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So 1 hour is the equivalency of 60 minutes. Then all we need to do is simplify. That goes from miles to feet and from hours to minutes. Simplify this, cancel out. You have miles divided by miles. That'll cancel out. And you have hours divided by hours. That'll cancel out. Notice the 2 units you have left are feet over minutes, and that's what we're looking for because it says feet per minute. Multiply 60 times 5,280, or what you can notice right now, and save yourself even more work, you can notice that 60 is at the top of this first fraction and at the bottom of that last fraction. So we can actually, just like we cancel out hours over hours and feet over feet or miles over miles, you can cancel out 60 over 60. And it leaves you with simply 5,280 feet per 1 minute. 28, we're finding the slope of this line. You can count when you have a picture. Look for integer intersections. Remember, integers means those two are good points for integer intersections, not this one here, because it's in the middle of those two. You don't want anything that's in the middle like that. You want something that's on an intersection. Your slope, remember your slope, it's always represented by M. Your slope is your rise. We hadn't talked about this in a while. Your rise over your run. That doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people, but rise is the same thing. Think of an elevator. It either goes up or down. Over, you run sideways, either left or right. So how many times do you go up or down versus how many, or over how many times you go left or right? Easier if you always started the one that's all the way to the left and see how many times you have to go down to get to the other one that you're looking for. So if we go down, in this case, we're going to go down once. Down means -1. Then you want to go to the right 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. To the right, remember your positive numbers are here and your negative numbers are here. So it's +4. So your slope in this case is -1/4. 30, we need to find the slope, but this time we're going to have to use the slope formula. The slope formula, M, is the change of y sub 2 minus y sub 1, over the change of x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Easiest way to do that, label it. X comes before y. Same thing with this one. X comes before y. This is the first point, so we'll call it sub 1. Second point, we'll call it sub 2. And all you got to do is plug them in the right spot. The first thing it asks you for is the y sub 2. That is 3.1. Minus, the next thing it asks you for is y sub 1. That's 6.1. Over, x sub 2's value is -2.5. Minus x sub 1's value is -5.5. Notice we have minus a negative at the bottom. That tells you to add or plus a positive. So 3.1 minus 6.1 is going to be -3 over -2.5 plus 5.5 is going to be 3. So -3 divided by 3, a negative divided by a positive, is a -1, which would be over 1, not necessary to write it. Your slope in this case is -1. And we'll pick up 31 on the last video.